Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in to Team Forbidden's YouTube page again. It is Andrew the Collector here with a update for, I guess you can say, anti-meta / Monarchs. I recently did a poll with the group the other day on what 4 decks I should keep together for the foreseeable future, and one of the decks that they chose was anti-meta. And the one anti-meta deck that I probably haven't shown on the profile is a Monarch style anti-meta deck. It mostly revolves around the Vanity's Fiend and Majesty's Fiend cards. But let's just go ahead and get into the profile so I can explain my card choices. So you're going to be running, first for the Monarch monsters, you're going to be running 3 Erebus and 1 of the Ether. Let me zoom in real quick. There we go. You're going to be running 3 and then 1. Erebus is going to be your main go-to for the Monarch monsters, mainly because he can disrupt your opponent's plays first turn by ripping a card from their hand. And Ether is good to get him out onto the field and get him back into your hand. Plus, her quick effect, summon effect, is good in combination with Monarch Stormforth. She was limited for a while for a reason, and but in this particular build, you only want to run her at 1. But if you're running a pure Monarch deck, then you're going to want to max out on her. So that's going to be it for the actual Monarch monsters. Let's go ahead and get into the real meat of this deck. I'm running 3 Vanity's Fiend and 3 Majesty's Fiend. If you don't know, they have simple effects. Neither of them can be special summoned. Vanity's Fiend, while it's face up in the field, neither player can special summon monsters. And Majesty's Fiend is neither player can activate monster effects. So really good floodgate monsters that you definitely want to utilize in this deck. It's definitely the go-to play for this deck, because the secondary option that you have is I'm running is 3 Inspector Border. Basically, you want to get any of these monsters out on the field and then basically just do what you can to protect them. So you're probably wondering, how do we get the Majesty and Vanities out? Well, you're going to use probably the best one that you will have at your disposal. I don't even know how to pronounce this guy's name, so I'm not even going to try. But basically, his pendulum effect is that if you have no cards in your extra deck except for him, you can destroy this card and then draw 1 card. So basically, if you place this in your pendulum zone, activate its effect to destroy it, it goes to the top of the extra deck, and then you draw a card. And then its monster effect is that it must be special summoned from face up in your extra deck by having no cards in your extra deck except for himself, and you can only special summon him once per turn this way. If this card is face up in the monster zone, when it leaves the field, it is banished. So basically, the strategy with this is that you activate this in your pendulum scale, use its effect to pop itself to put it on top of the extra deck, draw your card, and then use its summon effect to special summon it to the extra monster zone. And the effect to summon it is an inherited effect. It's not an activated monster effect. So keep that in mind. That's what makes him so good. And going along with that, we have 3 Jester Confit. Basically, it's a free special summon, inheritable special summon from your hand. So it's the same thing as this guy. You basically use their effects to summon themselves, so that way they don't get negated by Omni effects, because it's just easier. It's just easier that way in the long run. And then 2 Link Slayers. I was thinking about putting Cyber Dragon in this spot, because it's basically the same thing. If you control no monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. But it has a good back row hate effect, where you can discard up to 2 cards, then target that many spell trap cards on the field and destroy them. So it's basically Cyber Dragon with a MST-like effect. So that's why I opted to go with him instead. My original choices was to run 3 of him and then take out an Inspector Border, but I only can find 2 of him. So if you have access to 3 Link Slayers, definitely run 3 and then only 2 Inspector Border. And that is it for the monsters. Let's get into the spell cards. We're running 3 Domain of the Monarch. It's the field spell that while you control a tribute to summon monster and you have no cards in your extra deck, your opponent can't special summon from their extra deck. Really good lockout effect. 3 Stormforth of the Monarch. Basically, you activate this and you can use your monsters to tribute summon your own monsters. Keep in mind that the rulings do say for this is that it does affect your opponent's monsters. A lot of people are saying that would be a good choice to get over the purely exceeds. That's basically unaffected by everything, but this does affect monsters. I just want to clarify that it does not affect the player; it affects the monsters. And then to protect from target and effect destruction, we have March of the Monarchs. Basically, tribute summon monsters cannot be destroyed by card effects, and they can't be targeted by card effects. So if you are able to get out your Majesty's Fiend or your Vanity's Fiend while this is on the field, they can't impermanent, make it even harder to make their plays. And then 3, Patheism of the Monarch. Again, this card was limited for a reason. It's a not once per turn draw 2 Pot of Greed-like effect, and its graveyard effect is that you can banish it to reveal 3 Monarch spell or trap cards from your deck, and your opponent chooses one to add to your hand. The draw effect is not once per turn, so if you have multiple of these in your hand with cards to discard, you can activate them multiple times. But the graveyard effect is once per turn. But even if it wasn't, it's still really good. And for even more search power, we have Tenacity of the Monarch. You reveal one monster in your hand that is 2,400 attack and 1,000 defense, or 2,800 and 1,000 defense. So the Majesty and Vanity's Fiend do apply to that. And you can add one Monarch spell or trap from your deck to your hand. Really, really broken search effect. And then the last spell card that we have is 3-time Tearing Morganite. For the rest of the duel, apply this effect. You cannot activate effects in the hand, which we don't. Draw 2 cards instead of 1 during your normal draw phase, and you can conduct 2 normal summons, not just 1 this turn. And you can banish this card from the graveyard, then discard a second copy, and your opponent cannot activate monster effects when you normal summon. If you can't tell already, this is basically a godsend for this deck, because all you do is normal summon and lock out your opponent. So definitely a 3 of. So yeah. Now into the traps. We're running 2 the Monarchs Erupt. It's basically skill drain for monsters on the field, except for tribute summon monsters. So it's it's an obvious choice. And then the last ones in our main deck is going to be 2 Prime Monarch. Once per turn, target 2 Monarch spell or trap cards in your graveyard, shuffle them into the deck, and draw 1 card. So basically, Pot of Avarice like Recursion for your spell and traps. And then while you can banish 1 other Monarch spell or trap card from your graveyard to special summon this card from the graveyard as a monster. So basically, it's extra tribute fodder. So if you have this in your hand, and you have Patheism in your hand, you activate Patheism to pitch, to draw 2, and then use its effect to banish Patheism or a different Monarch spell or trap in your graveyard. Special summon it out, and you have tribute fodder for any of your Vanity or Majesty Fiends that you may have in your hand. No extra deck because it's a Monarch anti-meta deck. The field spell and Monarch's Erupt require you to have no extra deck. So let's just go ahead and get into the side deck. We're running 2 Jinzo and 2 Spell Canceller. In case you run into, Trap Tricks or Labyrinth or Sky Striker, Runic, or any spell-heavy decks. Depending on your play, you can change these out for any of the Majesty's Fiend or Vanity's Fiend, because they basically will act the same way, just for specific decks. The Majesty's Fiend and Vanity's Fiend are a bit more broad when it comes to the game state and the meta state. So that's why I put these in the side, but still, I like having these available in this deck. It has come up a few times. More so with Jinzo, because Labyrinth right now, despite what people are saying, Labyrinths can be a problem, especially against this deck, so Jinzo has come up before. And to get over the purely Exceed monster, I am running 2 Radiant, the multi-dimensional kaiju. You can honestly trade this out for any kaiju that you want. I'm only doing it because I can't find my Gamma Seals. Gamma Seals would be the prime choice because Radiant is 2,800 attack, and most of your monsters can't really beat over this. So definitely take this out for Gamma Seal if you have Gamma Seal. And then 1 Pankratops, because it's Pankratops. Why wouldn't you run Pankratops in an anti-meta deck? Off to the spells, 1 Change of Heart to take your opponent's monsters for the tribute fodder. 1 Harpy's Feather Duster, because we hate back row. 2 Regeki, it's Regeki to wipe out your opponent's board or to bait out any negates. 2 Forbidden Lance, because even though that you can give your monster target protection, they are still prone to stuff like Book of Eclipse or anything that does not target or destroy. along with any meddlesome trap cards, even if you don't have Monarchs Erupt on the field, or I'm sorry, Monarchs March of the Monarchs. So definitely want to have this for extra protection, and then 2-dimensional barrier to round off the side deck. And that's it for the deck profile. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you want to see any other types of anti-meta decks, like maybe Inspector Border, Fossil Dino Turbo, or anything like that, if you could even call them Turbo. But yeah, please like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell down for notifications, and we'll catch you guys later.